Now you should have Ansible installed on your laptop, on your WSL. That's my case here. I can check the version of Ansible that's installed. It's running Python 3, which is a good thing. So now we can start to set up Ansible. What we're going to do at that stage is just do a minimal setup of Ansible so that we can actually run playbooks using our own workstation, so our own laptops. And this is going to be used to connect to AWS and configure AWS components from our laptop. The way Ansible works is that you have a folder which contains all the files that you want to work with in Ansible. So the files that we are working with in Ansible are usually called playbooks, and these are files using the YAML syntax, same as Docker Compose or other configuration files that you may have seen before. So these are the playbooks, and these contain the instructions. It's like shell scripts on steroids, all the instructions that you want to run in order to do your provisioning. Before we can use playbooks, we need to configure Ansible to make it do what we want. So this is what I'm going to do now. Ansible takes a configuration file called ansible.cfg. You have an ansible.cfg, which is system-wide on your whole system, which is here, /etc/ansible/ansible.cfg. But we are going to use our own local Ansible configuration file. So I'm just going to open my editor, and in this configuration file, we are going to define a couple of settings for Ansible. So this file is using the INI format. So you have sections between brackets. Here you have the default section, which are settings which are valid for everything in Ansible. And we are going to set up our first option, which is the inventory. So Ansible works with the concept of inventory. You can only manage and work with Ansible on machines that are in your inventory. Your inventory is usually defined in a folder where basically it contains the list of machines and instances that you want to work with. So this is what we're going to do here. We're going to define our inventory, and my inventory is going to be in the My Inventory folder. The next thing we are going to do is give Ansible a bit more information about our inventory files. And we are going to tell Ansible that we want to use the INI plugin for the My Inventory folder. So this is all we need to configure Ansible at that stage. So I can just save that file, and it's now here on my system. Now, obviously, we were saying that my inventory is going to be a folder, and it's going to contain all the machines that I want to work with. So in that case, I need to create that folder. So that's very simple. I can just mkdir my inventory folder. And in this inventory folder, I'm going to create a file called hosts. And this will contain all the hosts that I want to work with in Ansible. So at the moment, I don't have any hosts that I can work with. The only computer that I can work with in Ansible is my own laptop. So I'm going to, once again, it's using the INI format. So I'm going to create a group or category of hosts, which is going to be the local category. And in this group, I'm going to add one host, which is the my own laptop, local host. And then because Ansible usually uses SSH to connect to remote hosts, there is no point here to use SSH to connect to ourselves. So we are going to add an option and tell Ansible that this connection is going to be local. So in order for Ansible to work with our laptop, we don't need to connect and do any kind of SSH stuff. We can just connect locally because that machine is actually the machine where we are going to run our Ansible playbooks. Once that is done, you can save that file. Then I'm going to go back to my main folder. And now I have this in my, well, I have this in my folder. So I have my Ansible configuration file, my AWS keys. This is going to be useful later. And my inventory folder. This inventory folder contains a hosts file, which contains a definition for my own laptop localhost. So now if everything went well, I can run the command ansible inventory, which takes an option like list, for instance, and you should see a list of hosts that you can use and manage with Ansible. And this is, I find this not very easy to read. I quite like the dash graph view of the Ansible inventory. So this is what you should get. Here, basically, you have all your hosts, all the @ signs, they define groups. Then you have the local group, which I created in my inventory file. And then inside that group, I have my local host machine. Now, this is one thing. Now we can actually check that Ansible is working by specifying that we want to use the ping module of Ansible on our local host. And this should reply with pong. Right. So it said success. So this is something that you will see, that you should see a lot when you're running Ansible. If it says success, it means that everything went fine. And what happened here is that because we have localhost in our inventory, we can call Ansible and use its ping module, which is basically going to try and connect to the machine. And if you can run and manage this machine with Ansible, it's going to reply pong back to you. So this is what happened there. Our machine has Python. We can connect to it. We can run Ansible on playbooks on that machine. So this is all good. So we have a success return status from Ansible. This is what we want here. So at that stage, you have Ansible set up on your laptop, and you also are able to use Ansible playbooks on your laptop because it's on in your inventory and it's available for Ansible to work with.